Hello again, my favorite people. So, in this video, I wanted to talk about how everybody is God. And I know that's a big statement to say, but it is true. The idea of God is not to say that it's one deity or many deities that we always have to strive to impress. Really, the godlike qualities that are explained in many different religions and mythologies are actually qualities within all of us. The idea of all of us being God does not imply that we are all in control over one another or any of those kinds of ideas about God where God has power. It's not about that. Because the true nature of oneself, as I've said before, is overwhelmingly positive, and when you really experience that and feel that, you have no real need to be that way towards people. It doesn't mean you get walked on or that you don't help direct people with certain things, but the nature of being that kind of person and always dictating to people what to do is not in anyone's true nature. It just isn't needed when you're yourself. And the real feeling of what people strive for in a godlike power is to be oneself. That is it. That's all that there is. And as long as people do that, as long as you understand that being yourself gives you that sense of feeling of greater ease on things, then you do feel like God in that way, in the way in which we have created it and understood it to be. And I say that because there's a lot of material out there where we interpret God in certain ways, and over time, it's our interpretations as humans of what that means, and it's only our doing that we've let it get to the points that it has currently in society. And I'm not saying people can't believe in what they want to believe. Everyone has that freedom. But the true belief in those things do not cause harm to others just because one person needs to prove that their God is right and that the other is wrong. There's no right or wrong. Everyone has a little bit different perspective on things, and because everybody is God, everybody has their own perspective and naturalness on this planet, and when that is carried out, when that is lived, that is a more overwhelming positive energy that occurs than not. And that expression of self, that true naturalness of one's being, is what God is. There's no difference between a person who wants to run a bakery versus a person who wants to run a multi-million-dollar company. The appearances have nothing to do with it. It's the self behind it that is what only matters. As long as that's there, that's the same for everybody. Yes, it will output different things, but that's also the point, is that not everybody's going to do the same thing or be interested in the same things, but the more you're yourself, the more appreciation you have for other people and the things they do, the things they create, the services they provide, that you have no need to consistently feel critical or negative or violent. The struggle to understand God through everyday life by people believing that they need to do certain rituals or things to appease God, to bring God into their life, it will come up short if you're not yourself anyway. And all that you have to do is be yourself in order to feel that exact closeness to God. And I'm saying God only in terms of how you interpret it as your understanding of God. And who knows, there could be something out there that we don't know about that shows up one day and that's God. Okay, so be it. But there is something in our human existence that we have to be ourselves. We have to be natural to who we are as individuals, each individual, in order to even understand something if that were to even exist. And that is why I say that we are all God, because when we are truly ourselves, we are what we have described God to be in all the different texts throughout all the different religions. God is merely our individual true self, whatever that looks like. If you're truly being who you are, then it is like you are being God, as we have described it in our society. But I believe that what we have described God to be in our society is just our own human interpretations of it anyway. So it's really just us as humans describing it and not necessarily what it truly is. And if it is, then okay, it is. But we are all, as individuals, something. And if we carry that out and do that, we will have a much better life. And that will be like living like a God. And in my life, I do feel that way. I do feel like that when you live as yourself, you feel a greater sense of everything. A greater sense of ease, a greater sense of acceptance, a greater sense of yourself and how that continues to change and evolve. And you don't need to be constantly negative or making others do things for you. It's just not the way things are when you're yourself. And I believe that that's truly what God intends, is that you have to be yourself and you have to be natural to that. And if you fight that, then you will have problems because you're going against yourself. And that's what a lot of problems are right now, is just a lot of people making themselves do things that aren't themselves, and we get an insane amount of global frustration about things. And it's a waste. And part of it does tie into religion. There's a lot of people who believe in religion and different religions, and that's fine. I'm not saying that you can't. But the true nature of ourself is like what we describe God to be. And our true nature doesn't need to truly control anything for selfish reasons. If you're yourself, things get done in some way, or things come to you, or you go to things naturally and assist in getting things done. And by that I mean, like, you don't need people to do things for you, so to say, just for that example, like an omnipotent presence who is in control of everything. That's not God. God doesn't need to control things in order to show that that's what it means to be oneself. The naturalness of oneself is the opposite of that. If you're who you are truly, you can accept anything. And yes, there will be things that we don't agree on, but at the same time, you are who you are in relation to that. And you're able to work with it. You're able to do what you are in relation to it, as opposed to constantly telling people what they need to do in order for your own selfish gain. Who you are, yourself, God, isn't selfish. And as long as you're natural to who you are, what you believe you are, what you believe you can really do, what is you naturally, you will feel a greater sense of yourself in everyday life, and you will have that feeling where in which I can't really describe it because you just have to experience it. But the way to experience it, the way to experience what we feel like is, if I could only feel like God, I promise you that that is not something that has to wait till you die, that it's something unattainable, that you have to believe in a certain thing or do certain rituals to experience. It has nothing to do with that. That as long as you be yourself in life, that feeling that changes within you becomes more relaxed. You're able to handle all kinds of situations with greater ease. And you're able to see how things come to you and also how you naturally go to things when you need to. And that is what God is yourself, being yourself, living in this world, and continuously doing that. Believe whatever you want to believe. That is not what I'm saying. That you can't still believe in what you believe. But do understand that all you have to do is be yourself. And you've achieved that sense of what God is, how we think what God is. That's all you have to do is be yourself and understand this perspective about God in your mind. Keep that in mind. And you will feel you you will feel like, yeah, I don't have to put too much extra effort into this to make something happen. I'm naturally doing this to make this happen. I can only do so much to make this happen. I can only give so much to make this happen. I can only allow so much to come to me to happen, etc. If you live as yourself and you truly try and you truly understand the changes in your life from that, then you're living as God. And we are all that. Everything in existence, from every speck of dust to the largest planets to the largest galaxies, everything is God so long as you express yourself as who you are. And the more you do that, the more you evolve that feeling. And only at that point can you know that for yourself. There's only so much I can explain about it before you just have to go and experience that. But I promise if you do that, that you will understand that feeling, and you will understand that, yes, I am God, but I am not needing to dictate things to others or be egotistical about it or get people to do things for me or to get things to happen that I want to happen even though I'm forcing it. That the naturalness of how you live your life is God. And for those of you who look at religious texts or know about it, just think about what you understand God as, apply what I have said, and just think about it. And again, you don't have to agree with me, and you don't have to stop believing in what you believe in. But know that no matter what anybody says, you have to live as yourself if you want any real things to happen in your life that you really feel you really want. And what can only happen is out of naturalness anyway. It can't happen out of ego, out of selfishness. And God isn't selfish. So as long as you live your life as who you are, truly, as best you can, each day, without ego, without being selfish, you're living as God. And everybody can do that. It isn't absent from anybody. And can you imagine a world where everybody is truly who they are? Imagine that energy existing. To me, that's God. If there's going to be any definition of it, which I don't always think about it in that way, but if there's a way to pinpoint it, that would be what God would want, is for that. As long as you're yourself, you will understand the feeling as you keep living, those feelings that you have that are continuously more positive because you're evolving yourself, you're being yourself, that is what it feels like to be God. Okay, we'll end it there for that one. Thank you again for listening and watching. I hope this was informational and fun. Apply these things the best you can to your life if you haven't already, and I promise you'll see these changes. And when I think of another topic, I will see you then. Thank you.